All right. Hello, everyone. This is episode 28 of the American Nightmare podcast.
Woohoo! Theme music.
And we are recording on
Dun, dun,
July
dun, dun,
30th,
dun, dun,
2020.
Just sneaking this one in.
Yeah, I know. It's, shit goes on. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, although it's good that we're carrying on this podcast because it appears as though we can't carry on the votes for this year. So, anyway.
Actually, I did post today up on our Facebook. We have some very popular podcast episodes. Apparently,
what?
We have quite a few that have quite a few listens. If you look,
I saw what number one was, and I'm still shocked at that.
All the devils are here. 224 listens. 224 listens.
It's the guy who wrote the movie who's trying to show people to invest in his next venture that his movie's being talked about online. He's like, look, we're being talked about.
But when they it might be like how cheesy we say that people are just probably interested in that.
Yeah, it could be.
I don't know. I don't.
And that one guy, the black dude, and it was actually pretty entertaining.
Yeah,
he had some good one-liners.
Nice.
Hey, also on the website today, how about that picture of the deer that I posted from the place we stayed at? I swear to God, I was going to start talking to me Asian Sumerian.
Who put the googly eyes on it? Are they like sticker?
Yeah, whoever owns the place. It was an Airbnb, and we rented the place. And I looked at it, I was like, holy shit, look at that thing.
Yeah,
it
that's
looks
crazy.
Like the daggone deer from Evil Dead.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So of our top 10 episodes, we got All the Devils Are Here, 224 listens. The Babysitter of all.
Wow, that was a good one.
Yeah,
that wasn't bad. Yeah, that was a good one.
Our very first episode, Just Getting Started, is 173 episodes. Chances are people jump in, they listen to that first episode, and they probably go, "What? This is garbage," and they stop listening.
But they listen to those other two a little bit more. So,
yeah. Pet Cemetery, 155. Midsommar,
the new one, yeah.
Midsommar, 130 listens. The Loved Ones, which was a great movie, 125 listens.
Really good.
And then it drops significantly with Us at 81, Terrifier at 80, and Hereditary at 76. We average about, just looking at the charts this morning, we average about 85 downloads a week.
That's not bad.
Yeah, it's not bad at all.
Considering I expected us to have a dozen.
Yeah, and considering that we're really just screwing around, we're really not. It's not like we put professional effort into this podcast, as you can tell by the audio quality of some of the more recent episodes. The fact that we lost one of the best episodes ever.
Well, it probably would have been nominated for whatever it is that they nominate podcasts for.
What's that? Yeah. The Webby?
Yeah, many people are saying that it was one of the best podcasts ever.
Yeah, unfortunately, it got destroyed.
Yeah, the Deep State.
The Deep State destroyed it. They did not want it to be heard, and therefore they had to intervene and shut it down.
That's what they do.
Exactly. All right, let's get started with horror news. Let me just say that, coronavirus has deeply tainted the future of horror. In fact, a majority of the news that I'm going to read through today is all negative because of COVID-19.
So did you see the one article, real quick, I'll interject, about the highest grossing streaming now? That's what does it. It made $450,000 or something like that.
No, I didn't see that.
So that's what it's down to now. It's you're streaming horror, and they're pushing it out that way, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I did read an article recently about some movie theaters coming to agreements with picture companies because they want to get a cut of the films. They want to be in the theaters, but not all theaters are open. And if you just went by the number of theaters that are open, movies wouldn't make any money. So they have to do streaming of some sort, because there are intelligent people out there that are not dumb enough to go to a rally in Oklahoma and then kill ourselves and a bunch of other people with our illness.
Poor Herman Cain.
Yeah,
R.I.P.
Listen, here, I put it this way. Fuck all those Republicans. I looked at those pictures on his Twitter feed of him meeting all these people there. I hope he got them all fucking sick, and I hope they all die. I'm sorry, am I being too honest?
No. Hey, this is a horror
apologize,
podcast.
I apologize to any conservative listeners. Listen, I'm fiscally conservative. I'm not a Republican. I'm not a Democrat. I just fucking hate everybody.
You also believe in science.
Science. My life is guided and dictated by the consortium of brains out there that are smarter than me, that do actual scientific research and experiments and use real results to make decisions. All right. Now off my soapbox. The first news story today. Netflix adaptation of The Sandman has been delayed to 2020. It's sad. Sandman was a great comic book series, a great book based on Dark Horse Comics, right?
Is that off of Spider-Man or no?
No, this is DC Dark Horse. So it came out in like 1989 or so. Was the Neil Gaiman was directing this adaptation of the 1989 book, and they announced last year. I think we talked about it on an episode early last year about Neil Gaiman is working to adapt this and direct it for Netflix. Netflix signed some sort of deal with him. It was going to be like it's a movie, but it's going to be a series, like a short series, kind of like HBO does with their like series of stories that form
like The Outsider.
Yeah, like The Outsider. Yeah. So this is going to be it's supposed to be 11 episodes when they announced it, and it was supposed to be starting in May, and they delayed it, and they delayed it further, and now they said, all right, screw it, somewhere in 2021 we'll do it, which is sad.
Yep.
The Conjuring 3, The Devil Made Me Do It. Trailer looks great.
Oh, I haven't seen that.
Oh, there's a trailer?
Yep, there's a teaser trailer.
Oh, I have to check that out.
However, they did announce that it will now be pushed back until June 4th, 2021. Warner Brothers put out that statement, I guess that was 3 days ago. They said their goals in this process is to ensure that the highest odds of success with our films, while also being ready to support our theater partners with this new content as soon as they could safely reopen. Therefore, we are pushing the date back to June 4th, 2021. That's an official.
You know if is it another Warren case or?
That I don't know.
Okay.
I believe it is. I thought for some reason this was based on. Maybe I'm wrong, but the Amityville was what was rumored to be.
Yeah.
But I think that might be incorrect.
Okay.
I really didn't look too deeply into it. There's only one teaser trailer that was out there, and I was kind of just, regardless of what the story is, the Conjuring series has been pretty phenomenal, so I was going to watch it regardless. Robert Kirkman, who announced, I think we talked about this again last year, Walking Dead movie that was going to be based on the life of Rick.
Yeah.
Has also been pushed back to next year. Robert Kirkman says, look, they had a virtual Comic-Con panel. He basically said, look, there's tons of stuff going on behind the scenes, and we don't want anyone to think that we're just kind of waiting around for the pandemic to end. We are doing a little bit of editing. We're making the movie as much better as we can. We're letting it cook to perfection, was his exact statement. And a quote from him, he said, I would say, if anything, the pandemic is going to make a lot of movies better. I think that the Rick Grimes movie, chief among them, just because we're getting a lot more time to cook this thing and make sure it's done to perfection.
Well, that's good. That makes that does sound logical.
Yeah, so they're taking their time with the idea that, look, even if we put it out in theaters, hardly any theaters are open. We're not going to make any money, so let's just hold out on it. Let's do a lot of the backstory, kind of any tuning, refining, making things better, so it'll be perfect when it's time to release. Along the line of one of our favorite movie series of all time, Evil Dead, there is a fan-based documentary called Hail to the Deadites.
Oh,
it is going to premiere virtually at Fantasia International Film Festival in August. Be available online, premiere at that International Film Festival, and may go direct to video after that.
Sweet. Go check that out.
It's a documentary that has been in the works for several years. There was some news about it last year in the fact that the director and writer of the documentary said they are not going to use any clips at all from the source material. Simply fan clips. It's going to be interviews with the cast, interviews with the crew, collections, people that collect toys and parts and pieces and films and memorabilia from the film. There's going to be all the kind of people that are really into this franchise, so you kind of get to see the weirdos that are into this stuff like us.
I was just say, do they have? Is there a name for the people who are into Evil Dead? Like, are they Deadites? Is that what we're?
I think that's what they're going by. Hail to the Deadites. Yeah. So I think they're calling the fans Deadites. So they're talking about the fact that this documentary is going to cover all 4 films that were created. Right? You got the Evil Dead, Evil Dead 2, Army of Darkness, the reboot of Evil Dead. Right? 4 films. You got the TV series.
My Name is Bruce.
Yep. You got the TV series. You got the comic books. The figurines, video games, and you have some of the toys made by Todd McFarlane for Evil Dead. So you've got yourself quite a collection of stuff.
I'll check it out.
There. It's about
I still own a copy of the VHS to Evil Dead 2.
Nice.
Carmen came upstairs from she has no idea. She's like, "There's movies in a box down there." She's like, "Let's just throw them out." I'm like,
"No,
I can't do that." I'm like, I can't do that.
You
have no idea.
It's an 80-minute
My personal effects.
Yeah. This is an 80-minute documentary. So it's going to also have, interviews with Bruce Campbell, Ted Raimi, Betsy Baker, Teresa Tilley, Ellen Sidewest, Richard Mandelier, Tom Sullivan, Dan Hicks, a lot of the people that were part of the building of that movie, and including Bill Moseley making his comments on such a great piece of work. So I'm excited to see that. I really hope. I know that I looked it up. The Fantasia Film Festival is August 20th. So I'm hoping shortly after that it should come out on direct to video streaming, which would be awesome. I can't wait to see it.
Like maybe September.
Yeah, I'm hoping. Like maybe it'd be nice. It would be like early September or late September, just in time for Halloween. Would be kind of
yeah, that'd be nice.
Promo art has been released for Godzilla versus King Kong.
Nice.
That movie is on its way out, and my understanding is that it has been filmed. It's in post-production. But they believe that the movie has been pushed back 10 months from now as its expected release, but they already started the marketing blitz for this.
Sweet.
By the way, that promotion, I have a link. I'm going to put a link to that into the podcast here, also up on our website. The poster looks just freaking amazing. Really looks nice. I'm excited for it. I love Godzilla. Throw some King Kong in there, and you got a perfect movie.
Yeah, I mean, King of Monsters was really good, and I thought Skull Island was really good.
Skull Island was fantastic, yeah. And I think the two together, although in reality, you look at the size of King Kong in the classic movies and the size of Godzilla in the classic movies, Godzilla towers over King Kong, but in this universe, they will be about the same size.
Yeah, I was going to say that wasn't much of a fight if it's Godzilla against much bigger, but okay.
We talked about 3 or 4 months ago about Scream Factory having another one of their awesome releases of horror films on Blu-ray. Scream Factory is fantastic. They've been releasing so many great collector's items on Blu-ray. I love it. We talked a few months back about Event Horizon Director's Edition on Blu-ray. It is now pushed back to 2021.
Because of the COVID?
Yes. They're having problems with their production facility because of lack of staff, obviously, from COVID-19. So they have delayed the release of this until mid-January 2021.
Damn.
I do have it on pre-order at shoutfactory.com.
Sweet.
Because Event Horizon is fucking amazing, and this director's cut apparently has a whole bunch of stuff that was not in the original theatrical release.
Yeah, they left a lot of stuff on the editing room floor apparently for that movie.
Yeah, I mean that's all I've heard about. Yeah, they talk about that a lot, and I can't wait to see it. Like I'm dying for this Blu-ray.
Kind of scared to see it. Like that movie creeped me out. Like the stuff that got edited out. I know that the found video footage of what happened to the previous crew, or like that I'm kind of worried.
Yeah. Quickly, a story that I read on JoeBlow.com, horror movies. There was an interview with Francis Lawrence and Keanu Reeves, and Keanu Reeves said he would love to play Constantine in Constantine 2. Now, unfortunately, unfortunately, he wants to play the part. He loved playing the part. It was an awesome movie. The comic book was great. The adaptation wasn't so great, but I still liked the movie.
I thought it was good.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of sticking to the comic book, yeah, but it was good. It was good. They never made a part 2. It was planned. It never happened. But Keanu Reeves says he's completely open to playing it again. He loved playing that character. We'd love to play it again. However, we do know from a few episodes ago, we did mention that a reboot was being planned and was going to go through, I believe, Netflix. So I don't know where that reboot stands, but if they don't do a reboot of the series with a new actor, please bring us the Keanu Reeves Constantine Part 2. Would be fantastic.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I didn't know the comic book when I watched the movie, so I had no expectations. So I liked the movie, because I didn't know anything about the comic book.
Yeah, fantastic. The story, the comic book stories is great. Same thing with it's funny how much modern pop culture media is based on comic books nowadays. Like the number of Netflix shows, all that crap, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, Quiet Place Part 2 has been pushed back yet again to April 23rd, 2021. Thank you, COVID-19. You're the best. Yeah, the first movie, it was originally scheduled for release in March. That got pushed, and now it's pushed again. Hallelujah. The movie Antlers, which is being produced by Guillermo del Toro, has been pushed back to February 19th. It was expected to be this month. And now it's been pushed back. They're expecting sometime in early February 2021. The target date is the 19th. However, that has not been anchored in stone as of yet, unfortunately. It looks like a great... here's just a summary of the movie. In the movie Antlers, a small-town Oregon teacher and her brother, the local sheriff, becomes entwined in a young student, harboring a dangerous secret with frightening consequences. All right, some good news. Lovecraft Country, new trailer, and it will be premiering August 16th on HBO Max at 9 p.m.
I saw the trailer for it. Yeah, it looks
Lovely.
good.
Looks freaking amazing. I can't wait to see it.
Yep.
Yeah, I didn't see anything about that. I'll have to check that out.
I think we talked about it on one of the previous episodes. All these great, really, it's what's his name is producing it. Peele, Jordan Peele.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, okay, I remember now.
Yeah, so it looks pretty freaking amazing. So I'm excited for that. I wonder how they're gonna what the storyline is gonna be and all that stuff. But it looks really good. It looks scary. Some of the trailer had some pretty scary scenes in it.
Yeah. Yep.
A trailer has been released as a teaser for the new Marvel Hellstrom series on Hulu.
Oh yeah, I saw that. I think did you post that on the web
on the Facebook? Yep.
That looks pretty good.
Yeah, Hellstrom, a great comic series from Marvel, and Marvel, of course, has a whole lot of TV series and small movies that they're going to be producing for Hulu and for Disney Plus. This is one that is a rated R content, therefore it's on Hulu, and It's going to be just a once and done miniseries. It will premiere October 16th. And it's going to be just one miniseries. There will be no additional series. This is something that actually they started working on before the Disney acquisition of Fox. But it's going to be on Hulu. It'll be fun. I'm excited. And then one last story from me, and that is Netflix tomorrow releases Season 2 of The Umbrella Academy.
Yep.
I saw the trailer. It looks pretty. I haven't watched the first season yet.
Oh, you have to. It's really good.
First season's so
it's
good.
really good, dude.
I'm going to say this. Dark Horse Comics, again, a great series about, 4 books now? They've released 4 books. So season 1 was loosely based on book number 1. Season 2 is even more loosely based on book number 2. Unfortunately, they changed up from what I read, they changed up the story a lot. The thing is, after season 1, my sister was so addicted to it that I actually talked her into going out and buying the comic, the graphic novel, the 4 books. And
too long in between seasons, though. Still, it's like you totally forget what happened.
Yeah.
I mean, I sort of have an idea what happened.
Right, but that's the thing is, Monday, my daughter and I started rewatching season 1.
Yeah, we'll probably watch the last episode again just to catch up. I'm sure they'll do a recap too.
Yeah, because I couldn't remember. I remembered the peak of the end of the last episode, but I couldn't remember what they discovered about who killed Hargraves, and I'm like, I don't remember how they wrapped that up in the show.
Yep.
And because of being a fan of the comic book back in the day, they just released the fourth book, I believe, not too long ago, which I didn't even read the fourth one yet. I just read the first 3. But the thing about that is they stray so far from the comic book, from the graphic novel, that I don't remember what goes on. But it's still, they did a great job. They really adapted it very well.
The characters are awesome. That's
absolutely awesome. Yeah. And the thing is, they do such good character development in that show. You really feel for the characters. You have an emotional hook.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, I think they almost did that, Sal. Each episode was revolved around one of the characters. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They sort of did backstory on each of the characters.
Yeah, and they really kind of got you feeling for each of the characters, especially the main character Vanya at the end. You really felt her fucking pain.
Yeah,
but that was a great show, and anyone who hasn't watched it, I know it's not necessarily horror. I mean, it's horrific. There's a lot of blood and shit in it, but it's definitely worth watching. Whether you're in the comic books or not, Umbrella Academy is really good. It's written by Gerard Way, the singer of My Chemical Romance. He wrote the graphic novel, and it was illustrated by Gabriel Ba, who is a great artist. So written by an emo punk rock singer, and then illustrated by one of the best illustrators that has worked in and out of Dark Horse Comics for years. Just fantastic series. All right, let's move on to.
I got one or two things, and it's cool.
Go for it.
Yeah, they'll be real quick. So I hadn't really given a whole lot of thought to HBO Max since it's been released, but I saw that they got a animated series called Gremlins: Secrets of the Mogwai coming out.
Yep.
And it's a prequel to the 1984 film.
Awesome.
It looks pretty good. It's supposedly where the old Chinese guy who sells Gizmo to the dad in the movie.
Yeah.
Where he comes across Gizmo.
Oh.
It's going to be a 10 episode series on HBO Max. I don't know if they've released a date yet for when that's going to come out, but it got me kind of intrigued. And again, I haven't given a whole lot of thought to HBO Max until I saw this. I was like, oh man, that'd be something I think I'd like to watch.
Yeah, it sounds interesting.
Yeah, I don't know I don't remember if you posted it on our page. But I remember seeing the trailer just this week of Kilroy Was Here.
Yes.
That Kevin Smith's
the new horror movie.
Horror that's coming out with Jason Mewes and Chris Jericho of WWE fame. The trailer looks great. I mean, it looks creepy and weird, and it kind of gives me like a Rob Zombie kind of vibe, like something that Zombie would make. Well,
he did that movie Tusk. Have you seen that one, Chris?
Yeah. But,
yeah.
So I'm looking forward to this too. It looked really creepy, and Kevin Smith doing horror worked out pretty good the first time. So, was that on ours? Did you post that?
I can't remember. I don't think
I saw it. I saw it somewhere. Anyway, that's my number 2. One more thing. I saw this week, too, that Ryan Murphy is putting out on Netflix a series called Ratched. It's about the mean-ass nurse from One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Oh, man.
It's starring Sarah Paulson as Nurse Ratched. It's got a great cast, like Sharon Stone and Cynthia Nixon. And it looks... there's no trailer yet, but they've released screenshots or from the shooting.
Is it the guy that does American Horror Story, right?
Yeah, American Horror Story, Scream Queens, Nip Tuck, Glee, So it actually looks the looks of this scenery kind of reminds me of Asylum from American Horror Story. So. And that woman was kind of she was vicious in that movie.
So
Go ahead. Sorry.
What's the story? Is it like
it's a prequel kind of? It's her becoming who she was. Like she I forget what the premise. It was like she responds to an advertisement about a nurse for an experimental mental health facility.
Yeah.
And she goes in there kind of not, in the back of her mind, she harbors some kind of, psychoses, but it's not prominent when she first shows up. And then as the show goes on, I think it builds and she becomes, the woman that from One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. I think it's supposed to be released in September on Netflix, and it looks pretty good. Again, no trailer yet, just screenshots.
Nice.
So those are my three things, horror related news.
Awesome. All right. Craig, anything from you? You're good?
Nope. I was going to mention the Umbrella Academy as well.
Okay. All right. Let's move on to next. Next, we typically do the top 5, but we're doing something very special this time. We're doing a top 10 of 1980s horror movies. And the reason for this,
too difficult.
There are so many movies. I'll say this much. In my research, number 1, I watched the Chasing Darkness.
Oh, great movie. I finished that finally.
4-hour-long documentary.
They do every year. It's crazy.
Yeah, every year of the 1980s. If you're an 80s horror movie fan like all of us are, you will really enjoy this documentary. It's about 4 hours long. I don't know if it's still available. There are some places that have it as streaming that you can buy it, but there's nowhere where it's streaming as part of a bundled service. So you're not going to get it on Netflix or Amazon or anything like that at this time. This was a Kickstarter, initially a Kickstarter GoFundMe type thing, and it worked out really well because I think all the interviews they did are pretty awesome. They went through every year and the top movies of those years and discussed them with filmmakers, with some of the very famous classic horror movie directors, some actors, actresses, some of the best people in the film industry in terms of special effects and practical effects. Just a fantastic long overview of kind of the best of the 1980s horror.
It's really good.
And as part of that, you kind of understand that the 1980s was the golden age of horror movies.
Yeah.
It was the time when VHS just became a thing. And the ability to quickly, rapidly film, produce, edit, and distribute your own horror movies on a small scale was so easy to do and so lucrative because there were so many movie rental shops, mom and pop shops, big chains like Blockbuster and 24 Hours Video and things like that, right? You got these big chains, you got these little mom and pop shops, and VHS was everywhere. It was people that, like myself, I grew up in poverty. We found our way to a VHS video player that we got from a friend. It fell off the back of a truck, hint, hint. But that was our way of entertainment. I couldn't afford to go to the movies as a kid, so we can go to this place called the Red Caboose and rent ourselves a video for $1.99 a night. And we used to, I remember with my friends during the summer, we would go and rent 5-6 movies at a time. They actually had to put a limit on how many you could rent because we were renting so many.
Those were the good old days, and they had to do really good cover art because the only way that you would actually even pick up something was the art that drew you in, because otherwise there was no word, there was no internet. You couldn't find out if a movie was good from looking up reviews. So the cover art's what drew you in. Right,
and like I said, this was a time when these movies were never. Some of these movies were never in the theaters. Right, when in the peak of 1980s horror releases, there were tons of movies that just never were in the theaters. They were simply out on VHS, direct to video, because that was the way to make the most money on these cheap B movies, on movies that even turned out they may have been cheap to film, but they turned out to be this spectacular hit amongst those horror fanatics. And there's so many that this is why we have this podcast. We love horror movies, and people who grew up in the 80s love horror movie conventions. And that's why those horror conventions are everywhere, because if you grew up in the 80s and you had that influx of horror movies and you fell in love with horror movies, that was the market. That was the place where people made money, and people that loved horror films got to enjoy them. So this was a very difficult selection. We decided we'll do 10 of our favorite 1980s horror movies with no honorable mentions.
Which is very difficult. It's very difficult.
It's very difficult.
And even
I don't want to pencil this in stone either, because I mean, I probably needed a solid week just to.
Well, and even putting them in like an order from 1 to 10, man. Like I some of them are like I like them all, and I was trying to think of why I would put one above the other.
Yeah.
And
I know.
There are a bunch that didn't make the list.
Yeah, what I tried to do is I tried to put myself into my 1980s teenager state of mind.
That's what I did,
and try and think about what are the ones that scared me the most or made the biggest impression on my mind, where when I think about I think about being 7, 8 or 9 years old and renting a VHS with my friends and watching it and being terrified. We would watch them in the middle of the day just so that we had time to forget about some of it before it was bedtime.
Right.
So I put them in order by the state of mind of the 1980s, how I felt watching these movies, which ones scared me the most, which ones thrilled me the most, and which ones made the biggest impression on me.
Yeah, that's kind of what I ended up doing too. And again, there's a lot of honorable mentions that we decided we can't do just because we're doing 10 this time. So, there's just way too many.
It's like Sophie's Choice, but you just have to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, almost exactly like Sophie's Choice.
All right, so this month we are going with Craig first, Chris second, and I'm last.
All right, here we go. My number 10, I went with the Texas Chainsaw Massacre number 2.
Oh, nice.
Nice one.
Yeah.
That's crazier than the first one.
That's what I liked about it. This is the character, Chop Top.
Chop Top was the best. Come on, man.
Yeah.
Dog will hunt.
Yep, exactly.
Introduction to Bill Moseley.
Yeah.
So again, it was just, when I was a kid, I was like, dude, this is like just crazy nuts.
Yeah.
So that's why I made my list. Number 9, I went with They Live.
Good one.
Roddy Piper.
Very good.
It's on my honorable mention list.
Is it?
That doesn't
that's
exist.
a good way to sneak it in too, right? Yeah,
yeah.
And that just beat out Gremlins on my list, so which was on my honorable mentions. Number 8, I went with April Fool's Day.
Ooh, nice one.
Probably something nobody has on their list.
No, I don't actually. But it was a good movie. And again, this is a lot of movies to go through.
That's one that was on HBO, and I watched it every time it was on because it was just, I don't know, I thought it was a cool movie.
No, that was definitely a classic horror
movie.
It
is good.
Yeah. The ending was like no other horror movies. I thought that was pretty cool. Number 7, The American Werewolf in London.
Nice. Good one.
Yep.
The practical effects in that one.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Yep. I wasn't really terrified of that movie, but it made my list because of the, again, it was like the practical effects in that were like, wow, but werewolves never really scared me when I was a kid. So
I agree.
I was scared.
But like I said, I loved the story, and it was definitely original for sure.
And it had comedy elements to it.
Oh
too.
Yeah, his buddy that was dead. Yeah, I love that. The scenes every time his buddy would come back and be more decomposed every time he came back and talk to him. Number 6, I went with Nightmare on Elm Street.
Nice.
That was definitely for its scare factor when I was younger. Number 5, I went with Friday the 13th.
The original?
That was tough. It could have went 5, 6, 6, 5. Either one of those. It was really tough. But I think, I saw Friday the 13th before Nightmare on Elm Street, so I don't.
Oh, it came out before Nightmare on Elm Street, right?
Yeah. So that's why I sort of bumped it. And they're, like I said, they're both equally as scary. So it was tough. That one was tough for me. Number 4, I went with Poltergeist.
Good one.
Yep.
Love that movie. Terrified the shit out of me because I believed it was real.
Saw that one in the movie theater. Number 3, I went with Evil Dead.
Nice.
Yep. That
Excellent
one I remember my friend
ran.
We were talking about video stores. This one I saw on VHS. my buddy Ray says, dude, he's like, I just saw this movie. And he's like, you got to see it. It's called Evil Dead. I'm like, okay. He's like, come on over. He's like, I still have it. And we'll watch it. So
That's
I went
awesome.
Yep. So I went over to his house and watched. So my friend Ray turned me on to the Evil Dead. Number 2 was Evil Dead 2.
Nice.
Again, my same friend Ray, when that came out in the theaters, dude, we were like batshit crazy.
Yeah.
We're like, dude, they're showing this one in the movie because we didn't see Evil Dead in the movie theater.
Right.
But this one came out in the movie theater. It was what, 87-ish? So we were old. Well, we weren't old enough, but we went anyway because they used to let you in movies, right?
Yeah.
You weren't
I didn't care.
So him and I went to the movie theaters and saw it, and we were like blown away by it. Evil Dead 2. So that's what that got edged. Well, I thought it was slightly better too. Little.
Well, yeah, I think they had a bigger budget for that one.
Sure.
And so it's basically a retelling of the first one, kind of, right? Like it's
right.
Yeah.
They wanted to make a sequel with some parts from the original, but the distribution company that owned the original wouldn't give rights back to Sam Raimi to use some of the scenes.
Yeah.
So he had to scratch it.
Yep.
Yeah.
And my number 1 was Creepshow.
Nice.
Ooh.
Nice.
I watched that movie probably 50 times when I was a kid. That was on HBO all the time.
HBO a lot, yeah. It was on HBO a lot back in the day.
And I could rewatch it, and even though I knew it was going to happen, I just could rewatch it, watch it. And I loved it.
That was one of my honorable mentions too.
That was one of the horror movies that was one of the first movies I saw on a big screen TV at somebody's
Really?
house. Yeah. It was on
Nice.
HBO. I was little. I had to be 7 or 8 years old, maybe 9. And I watched it on a big 60-inch television.
Is that when they had like those? It was like 3 foot deep. Those big,
it was a big rear
bulbs.
projection. Yeah, big.
It was
projection.
It was a red bulb, a blue bulb, and a green bulb.
Yep.
And
Yep.
The screen was like plastic.
Yeah, it was like a plastic flimsy thing with like a weird kind of magnification film on the back of it.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep. I watched that as a kid in somebody's house.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yep. So that's my list.
Excellent.
That's a good
10.
list. Good list. Yeah.
All right.
I guess I'm next, huh?
Yep.
Okay. So that there's a couple of similar ones on my list. I'm going to go through it. And number 10, Children of the Corn.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I know.
That movie scared the crap out of me.
I know. And you watch it now, you're like, what the freak was I thinking?
And
how scared I was.
And that dude Malachi, I mean,
oh yeah,
he was scary as
he
shit.
lies
Like,
behind the rose. He's like so evil. I know, right?
Yeah, he was creepy as shit. Like that's his look. I mean, he was just a scary looking dude.
Yeah.
But that was a
outfit. Yeah, I know.
Movie. And when I watched it, I was a kid, and like seeing kids like just killing all adults and stuff. I was creeped out by that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Number 9, American Werewolf in London.
Okay.
We already talked about that one, and I think all these movies that we're talking about here, we've probably talked about at some point.
Yeah, we have. Yep.
24 episodes. Is that what you said it was, Sal?
We're at 20. This is 28.
28. Shit, I missed a couple. Number 8, Pet Sematary, the original.
Yes.
Okay.
Not that bullshit we watched a couple of months ago that was just straight up garbage.
That's on Prime now or something too.
This one holds a special place in my heart. Me and my buddies used to watch it all the time back in the day, and it's pretty creepy. Another Stephen King.
Yeah, this the original is up on HBO Max right now.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Nice. Number 7, Hellraiser.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
It's another one of those movies that like I was raised Catholic, and the satanic, kind of hell, scene going on like that. Like I was literally like, holy shit! Like, am I gonna like go to hell for watching this movie? Like,
that movie,
such sights to show you.
Yeah, dude.
That movie, crazy. And I that was just I can remember it was like over my head. I just didn't get it.
Yeah.
I was scared shitless the first time I watched that movie.
It scared the crap out of me.
Yeah,
I had a hard time watching it.
Yeah. Number 6, Child's Play.
Yeah.
It was really good. It was a different movie. It was a kid and his toy. The toy gets possessed by like this evil, creepy dude, and ends up like. And there were some pretty good kill scenes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Once you get older and you think about the physics of it all, it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. But
Still
you know,
was
at the
good.
time. And I recently I don't remember if I talked about this in the last episode, but I just recently watched the remake and I liked it. I thought it was a really good reimagination.
That's on Amazon Prime too right now, I think.
Well, it was on HBO, I think, when I watched it, but I think it's on.
Okay.
Yeah, it might be on Amazon Prime, but I would recommend it if you haven't watched it yet. It was
I
a really
haven't
good.
watched it. I haven't. I'm afraid.
It's actually pretty good.
Okay, I'll give it a shot.
It's different than the original, but it works. It works, and they're actually talking about a sequel. So if you haven't seen it, check it out.
Okay.
Number 5, Lost Boys.
Ooh.
A bit more mainstream, but I dug it had a good cast in it.
Oh yeah.
Like the twist ending.
Yeah, the reveal of the head vampire at the end is just fantastic.
Yeah, right. And it had a great soundtrack too.
Yep.
At the point in my life when I watched this, like the
Echo and the Bunnymen doing the Doors song, that was good. That was a great one. Yeah.
Or Lou Gramm doing the title track, Lost Boys.
That's the one thing that I miss about being in Pennsylvania is the Steel Stacks. Every year does the Lost Boys at the anniversary of the movie.
It's a great movie.
Oh yeah.
Number 4, Evil Dead.
Okay.
When I saw that too, like it was creepy as shit. Like the stuff that the possessions.
Yeah, I'm assuming that you saw that one too on VHS, right, Chris?
Yeah, well, I don't think any of these movies because I'm a little bit younger than you guys. So like in the 80s, I was like I was born in 74. So in 84 I was 10.
Yeah.
I didn't start watching horror movies. Well, I watched like Dracula and Frankenstein and all that shit on TV, but like actual horror movies, I didn't see most of them in the theater.
Didn't you love too when you were a kid? Like they showed, it was light stuff, but they showed horror on PBS, and I used to love. I got so excited when they showed a horror movie on PBS.
Yeah. So I think actually the only one of these on my list that I saw in the theater was my next one, Gremlins.
Okay.
And it's not like the most horrific horror movie, but it's creative and there is some like pretty, gory scenes in it. It's funny, and again, you guys know me. I like some comedy with my horror.
Yeah.
It's a great movie. I liked it, and that was of the ones in this list is the only one I saw in the theater.
Okay.
Number 2, Evil Dead 2. Which is kind of funny because both Craig and I had Evil Dead 2 above Evil Dead.
Yeah.
But again, I think they had a bigger budget for that one, and it was
a little scarier too, I think.
Yeah, and again, for me, there was a lot more like slapstick in it.
Yeah. Yep. Definitely.
And my number 1 is Nightmare on Elm Street. This one was my first like actual slasher movie that wasn't like Frankenstein or Wolfman or it was the first one I saw that was like horror as I know it now, not just monsters.
Yeah.
So that's my top 10, and again I had about like 10 honorable mentions, but we decided not to do those. So it was tough. It was tough.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. All right. Let me get to my top 10. Again, I was young in the 80s too, right? I was born in 75. So for me, a lot of this stuff was, discovering it years later on VHS.
Right.
Which is, back to the idea that the 80s was the peak for that type of stuff. Mm-hmm. My number 10, Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
Nice. It's a good one.
The first time I saw that one, first of all, I have to say, I don't like clowns.
Me neither.
And when I first saw this one on VHS, when I remember renting it because the cover looked freaking amazing.
It did.
Even the way they wrote Killer Clowns with like that kind of 80s horror band type writing. I was like, oh shit. But what a fantastic movie, and what a fantastic soundtrack. The punk band, did the soundtrack of that, the Dickies.
Did they?
What was that?
They did the whole soundtrack for that?
Yep, the whole thing.
Cool.
Sorry, my cats are bothering me. I hope you don't hear them freaking meowing on this thing.
I thought I heard a cat earlier. I didn't say anything, but
my daughter's at work and I got to feed the cats, and now they're begging me to feed them, and I'm just not.
Yeah, they don't let up, those cats.
Hell no.
Did Dickies do the banana splits song?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Then we have my number 9, The Gate.
Good one.
Oh boy. Okay.
Again, this is one I was fairly young watching this one. VHS. Again, the cover of the VHS was the thing that lured me into buying it
creepy.
or renting it. And I freaking loved it. As a matter of fact, we probably should do a whole episode on horror movies that revolve around a band, either some demonic band or alien bands. There's so many movies like that from the 80s. But The Gate was just one of those movies. Play a rock record backwards, Everyone, my grandmother hated rock and roll and was constantly, devil's music.
Yeah.
And then watching this movie made me go, what the fuck? Maybe it is.
I do like B movies too.
Yeah,
that might be a category. Because there's a lot of those in the 80s too. You know what I mean? It's like,
tons of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My number 8, The Entity. Come on. How could you not love Barbara Hershey in The Entity?
Yeah. When you were a kid.
Yeah, The Entity. We've talked about it a ton of times, and every time, Chris, you go, I don't think I've seen that one. I guess I should see it because you guys talk about it all the time. Listen, you need to see it.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Write it down again. And it's funny that it's called The Entity with Barbara Hershey in it.
Right, exactly. Well, the thing is, there's a whole scene in it that to me was both, as a kid, was confusing because it was both hypersexual and terrifying when she's being molested by a demon in her sleep.
A ghost or demon,
It was that thing was.
Then it was good effects too because you couldn't see it. You know what I mean? But
but the way that they made like the bite marks appear on her tits and the bite
marks. Because I remember this whole conversation now from another episode.
Basically she gets raped by the devil. And
I'm gonna watch this movie.
As a kid, it's confusing because you're like, "Ooh, look at titties," and then you're like, "Wait a minute, bite marks on titties."
She's raped by Satan.
Yeah. My number 7, Evil Dead.
Nice.
Again, to me, that was a classic horror B movie. They both were just the cheap special effects. The girlfriend, the way that they painted her face and stuff to make the just was awesome. And I remember
the stop animation when she's doing the ballerina dance.
Yeah. Yep. And I remember the reason why I bought it is because I used to go to this grocery store in Carbon County called Lane Co. And we would go into Lane Co. and there would be those machines you put 2 quarters in and you get the plastic bubble with stickers in it.
Yeah.
And one day, I put in my 50 cents, I turn the thing and pop out, I get a Evil Dead sticker of it was like the hand reaching out of the grave and grabbing and I'm like, oh my god, what is this? And my friend's like, I think it's a movie. I think I saw it at the movie store.
Get out of here.
I'm like, dude, you gotta rent it. So we went and rented it. And as a matter of fact, that sticker, when I was in a band in high school, I had that Evil Dead sticker from Lane Co. on my guitar.
Oh, that's awesome. That's an awesome story.
It is.
My number 6, Poltergeist. Again,
sweet.
This one was on HBO over and over and over again.
Oh,
as a kid. And I just remember watching it going, is this real? Like, does this shit really happen? Is this what those ghost catchers do? They record this shit? This is...
I always wanted to live in that neighborhood, though.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I always just, when I was a kid, I was like, that neighborhood just looks so nice.
Yeah.
I want to go to California and live there. You know?
Especially at the beginning, you see that guy riding the bike and dropping beers.
Yeah.
And his kids are chasing him with the remote control cars.
Yeah.
Looks like a lot of fun.
Well, they did that on purpose, right?
Yeah.
They did it because it was like a little piece of heaven, so you thought.
Yeah. Well, they talk about it in that documentary that we talked about before, that Chasing Darkness.
Yeah.
It's really good.
Yeah, they do.
Number 4, Return of the Living Dead.
Hey, that was on my honorable mentions, just saying.
Now, the thing about this one is when I watched this, I was in junior high school. It was on HBO, and I had the flu. I was feeling horrible. I had the shakes, had a fever. And
oh, shit.
Part of that, watching this was fucking terrifying.
Made you feel like you might be a zombie.
I'm like, oh my God, what if I turn into a fucking zombie? That's why I got the chills, especially that scene where the boyfriend is like, I don't know, I don't feel so good.
Yeah.
I'm like,
right?
oh, fuck, that's
I
how
can
I
see
feel.
that, man.
It just scared the shit out of me.
Oh man, yeah, because you see them getting kind of more sick and sick as the movie goes on.
Yeah, after they breathe in that.
Yeah, see, that was one movie where they did a nice job turning into zombies. Like they didn't like turn into a zombie instantly. Like they actually suffered a little bit. You know what I mean?
Right.
Well, because they were the ones that they didn't get bit or anything. They breathed in the gas.
Breathed in
yeah.
And then that part, just being sick, I think really made a mental impact on me. And I tell my kids about it all the time. It's like, I had the flu and I watched this movie and it was the worst idea I ever had, and it gave me nightmares for months.
It was a great movie. Like that's one of those ones. Like when I'll go back to that one a lot and rewatch it.
My number 3, Hellraiser. Again, this was a VHS rental. The cover looked awesome because it had Pinhead on the cover. I'm like, dude,
holding the box.
Yeah, I'm like, if that guy is the villain in this movie, it's gonna be freaking awesome. And so boy, did it ever like impress the shit out of me. I was like, that was like one of the best rentals I ever made in the 80s.
So scared. I was so scared by that movie. And he was actually, they interviewed him quite a bit in that In Search of Darkness movie. Yeah. He was in there quite a bit, that dude.
Yeah. He talked a lot about the developing of the character and all that shit. It's just awesome.
Yeah.
My number 2, An American Werewolf in London.
Another good one.
I remember the house I lived in watching this movie for the first time. Again, VHS rental. It was at my dad's house, and I remember watching the special effects and going, "Holy shit! Like this dude is turning into a werewolf. How the hell did they do that?" Legendary Rick Baker effects that are well known, because often in werewolf movies prior to that, they kind of turned away from the camera.
Yeah.
Or they did like if you're looking at the classic monsters from Universal, it's like a slow fade in from one makeup level to the next. This one animated the actual transition, which was just mind blowing. It gave to me a realism to it.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome.
And it made me think, oh shit. So transforming into a werewolf is a painful experience. It's not like Lon Chaney standing still and turning into a werewolf. Right. This is like fucking pain because your body is changing. And followed up upon with really, movies like The Howling and whatnot. And my number 1, A Nightmare on Elm Street.
Nice.
Again, VHS rental. I was in 8th grade. It was summertime. It was my cousin's house down the street. She lived 3 houses down from me in Weisport, Pennsylvania. Me and 6 other kids, we all got together. We closed all the blinds in the house. Her mom said, yeah, you can have friends over. We had soda and popcorn and chips and pretzels, and we closed all the blinds to make it really dark in the house. And then we proceeded to watch that and be fucking terrified.
It was scary,
man. I remember,
man.
like, when the movie was over, I couldn't wait to open the fucking windows and get outside into light. It was terrifying.
Freddy was scary as shit in that movie.
Yeah. And there you go. That is all of our top 10 1980s horror movies. Plenty of overlap.
Thanks to whoever suggested that one.
Yeah. Again, we didn't get any emails this month, but I want to suggest again to our listeners, if you're interested in proposing a top 10 list or a movie we should check out or review, please contact us at feedback@the-american-nightmare.com. Or you could go to our website, the-american-nightmare.com, and click on the feedback link. In order to give us some feedback email, you can tell us we suck. You can tell us the show sucks. You can tell us the show's good. You can give us some top 10 lists. You can tell us your favorite horror movies. Join our discussion on Facebook. We have a Facebook American Nightmare. You do a search for that. You can join our group there. Talk to us about your favorite horror movies and give us some suggestions.
We really actually had two new members sign up in the last month to the Facebook page.
Yeah, awesome. That's good.
Also, just throwing this out there, if you want to send the message to me telepathically, I do possess The Shining, so
Very good.
Just saying.
Okay, so now we move on to the feature. We're going to discuss
Speaking of The Shining,
the movie Dr. Sleep. 2019 release. Did fairly well in the theaters.
It did. It did do really well. I didn't pay much attention to it because
yep.
I didn't know anything about the movie other than I seen The Shining before, but it did pretty good in the theater.
It's got an 89% on Rotten Tomatoes, which is a pretty good rating for viewers.
Yeah.
Critics aren't quite so kind to it. They're up in the 70s, but yet, 89 is pretty good for viewers.
And for critics, 70 is not bad. I mean, horror movies often don't do well with the critics, so.
Yeah. All right, let's get into discussing Dr. Sleep. Now, this was recommended by me, mostly because it was finally on HBO Max this month. And I'm such a big fan of the Shining book and the Dr. Sleep book. Dr. Sleep is the continuation of the story from The Shining. The book, Dr. Sleep, is a continuation of the book version of The Shining. One of the great things that I'm very, very happy about with this movie is they melded those worlds together. They decided, let's do the story from the book, but let's adapt it for the screen in such a way that it wraps up the story of the movie Shining.
And it sure did.
And that was phenomenal.
Yeah, I liked it. I didn't know anything. I didn't even know there was a book called Dr. Sleep. I just thought it was another movie based off the original. So,
nope, this is based.
I had no expectations.
Yeah, the book was very different. The book was a lot longer. There was a lot more character stuff in there. There was a bunch of crap that they cut out necessarily because it would have cost way too much in terms of time to delve deeper into Rose the Hat, who is the main character. So the main,
I think they should have called her Rose the Hot.
She was pretty fucking hot. But that's the thing. In the story, they describe her as the most beautiful woman you've ever seen. And I think they really pulled that off pretty well. She was very beautiful, very well-built woman. Although I will say this, when you read a book and what you imagine based on the writer's details, I imagined her with a large top hat, more like a real magician's hat.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Instead of she had that kind of like four non-blondes.
Stevie Nicks.
Yeah.
It was more of like a hipster type.
Yeah.
But Rose the Hat, that was her name in the book. And I believe I think they mentioned it. Her name was Rose.
They did.
But I don't know if they called her the Hat. Maybe once they may have.
I think so. Yeah, when she introduced herself to that girl, I think.
Yeah.
Just call me the Hat.
Right. So that character in the book they had way more development of, and there was a couple other things too, like the group of the
whatever they're called.
They're called shit.
I was kind of envisioning them as energy vampires, not knowing anything about the book, and having watched What We Do in the Shadows. I'm like, oh, these are like energy vampires. They eat The Shining, kind of.
Yeah, and that's exactly
they eat
what
other
they do.
people's psychic abilities.
Yeah, they are more or less vampires, I guess you could say. Yeah, but yeah, so the thing is, like, I'm getting old and I'm starting to lose my memory, so I'm having a total brain fart of what the name of the group was, and I don't know why.
Did they say it in the movie?
Yeah, or several times they did.
Oh, did they?
In the chant that they do before they kill the kid.
Yeah, shit, I don't remember that either.
The true knot. There you go. The true knot.
Okay, gotcha.
We are the true knot, and that which has been. What did they say? It was like that which has been bound cannot be unbound. They do like this ritual when they kill somebody, and they say these words. So that's what I think was like that which has been bound cannot be unbound, or something like that. But the name of the group is called the True Knot.
Gotcha.
So let's spoiler warnings, because we want to talk kind of in depth about part of The Shining and part of this. So how the movie kind of starts out. So the movie starts out kind of really picking up, leaving the Overlook Hotel from The Shining.
Mm-hmm.
Now, in The Shining, the book, which I don't know if you've ever seen the ABC miniseries of The Shining.
I did. It was good.
Right. But that was Stephen King's true adaptation of the book. And if you recall, at the end of that miniseries, also in the book, the Overlook Hotel was burnt down at the end. The father, right, Jack, goes into the boiler room and sets all the boilers to maximum and allows them to blow and take out the entire hotel. That was in the Shining book and in the miniseries. And of course, in Stanley Kubrick's bastardized version of The Shining, Jack has no redemption. It's the worst thing that I think Kubrick has done to the character. He's not. He makes him a non-redeemable character, right?
Oh yeah, he died a scumbucket, right?
He dies a scumbucket, frozen in the maze, just a total piece of shit throughout the whole.
Yeah, because he's trying to kill his son. That's how he died.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now, in the book and also in that miniseries, he redeems himself at the end. He apologizes to his children and kids, his kid, and realizes that he was being possessed by the hotel.
Right.
And he took out the hotel and saved the life of both the kid, the mom, and the kids, the character.
Whoever he was.
The Scatman Crothers,
Right, yeah.
That character, they killed him in the movie, but in the book, he's alive.
But even in the Dr. Sleep movie, Jack wasn't really a good guy either, because remember, his ghost was at the bar trying to make him drink.
Well, that's the thing. That's the thing that kind of pisses me off, too, because in the Dr. Sleep book, he plays another redeeming role, himself. And I was a little upset that, again, they had the opportunity to redeem Jack, and they didn't.
They did, because, again, at the end, it's just spoiler alert.
But like you said, they're trying to blend the book and the movie together, so
but
you
even
can't.
So, they could have redeemed him in death, right? I mean, he may have been a piece of shit and died at the hotel, but they could have redeemed him. They could have showed, hey, look, he's a redeemable character. He's not completely piece of shit.
That's a good point.
And I was very upset that they didn't choose to redeem him, because I was mad about the movie, and then when I got here, I'm like, shit, maybe they'll actually redeem him like they did in the book. But no, they didn't. They cut out the whole scene that he appeared in the book. They just put in the scene in the bar, which doesn't even exist in the book, because in the book the hotel is destroyed. When they reach the hotel, it's partially burnt and collapsed. Which in this case the hotel was still standing. So it was the point I'm trying to make is they did a great kind of melding together to bring one cohesive closure to both what is in the book, closing out the Shining book, and what is brought to the screen to close out what happened in the Shining movie.
Which sounds like it would be a difficult task, considering. Again, I didn't read the book, but you said that there's a lot of stuff that you can't do. But it seemed pretty cohesive to me, I thought.
Well, and it comes down to Mike Flanagan. Really, Mike Flanagan, he has shown himself, number one, in the most phenomenal Netflix series of all time, The Haunting of Hill House, right? Mike Flanagan wrote and directed that. And then he took on this story, and he did a fantastic job.
Yeah, I liked it.
When's that coming out? The Haunting of Hill House.
I have no idea. That was like they were advertising it on Netflix a few months back, and now
what the hell?
It got dropped. It's lost in the black hole.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's over a year and a half ago. We're moving on 2 years for that, right? For the first one.
Yep. And the thing is, the second one at first they were like, oh, it's going to be about the other ghosts in the house, but then later they said, no, we're doing a whole new story about a whole different thing. It's like a new anthology or whatever. Either way, I'm sure it'll be fine if Mike Flanagan's involved in it, because again, like I said, Mike Flanagan, number one, did a fantastic job on The Haunting of Hill House, and then he just totally outdid himself with his part of writing the screenplay. I mean, Mike Flanagan directed and wrote the screenplay for Dr. Sleep. In fact, he consulted with Stephen King on a couple of the aspects of how he wanted to merge the two stories, the two versions of The Shining. And as far as I'm concerned, Mike Flanagan did a superior job. This is just another feather in his cap to show when it comes to horror, Flanagan's got his shit nailed down.
Yeah, I liked it.
Ewan McGregor did a fantastic job as a grown-up Danny Torrance. I thought his character was awesome. Very well played. He's a
great actor.
Yeah, he's a great actor, and having him in this part was just phenomenal. And his personality as that character, just some of the things that he did were it was just great. His ability to portray the struggle of what he had to deal with The Shining as a child, with his ability that is called The Shining, and how he deals with it in the future. And then you see the trauma he went through, and then how he talks to Abra, the young lady who
I thought she was great too.
She was fantastic too, yeah. But and the way that he tried to tell her, take that shining and hide it. Tuck it away. Don't let people know about it. More people will come for you. More people will think you're weird. Just tuck it away. And then at the end, how he redeems himself and says, you know what? Don't tuck it away. Just shine on. Be who you are.
Crazy Diamond.
Yeah. And that was just freaking awesome.
She was great. Like my only thing was like they kind of switched from her to being a little girl to like a teenager, like real quick.
Well, that's the thing is, again, in the book, during that time space, they do a bunch of character development for the True Knot. And the team of the True Knot, in the book, the True Knot was a much larger group of people, a huge group of people. And I'll tell you from the book, I don't know if you're interested in reading or not, but here's a spoiler. The team, somebody gets the measles.
Oh.
And it wipes out half of the True Knot.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. The True Knot, they really do. In the book, Stephen King, of course, he's diary of the mouth when it comes to writing, or diary of the pen.
Right.
He wrote so much into character development for the True Knot. That was pretty amazing, including backstories for the Crow, which is kind of Rose the Hat's right-hand man.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so that was my big thing. Like I was like, wait a minute, did I miss a part where she went from being like a little girl to like a teenager? Like,
yeah, they just go 8 years later.
Yeah, and I must have turned my head for a second for that part because I was like, wait a minute, when did she become a teenager?
Yeah,
but she was great.
Yeah, one of the great things in the story, again, more spoilers. I think we already gave a spoiler warning, but one of the great things that I loved is the way that they portray the fact that, well, we knew from The Shining, right? Danny Torrance was a powerful psychic,
right?
To the point that when he called out, and the character played by Scatman Crothers, heard him, was like, you nearly killed me with your scream, when you reached out to me.
Right.
And that is, a shine like never shined before. And that's why the Overlook Hotel wanted Danny so badly.
Yeah, but then they got a taste of something else.
Yeah. And so that's the great thing is that how they start off the story with he's struggling as an alcoholic, right? He's struggling as an alcoholic because what is he doing? He's got all the voices in his head from his psychic abilities, and he's been
trying to numb them.
Yeah, he's been taught all his life that he's got to hide that. He's got to keep away from it because of all the terrible things that he was exposed to because of having The Shining, because of being taken to the Overlook Hotel that was hungry for what he had. He hid it as much as he could. And they cut to him as they leave and the summer comes and they move to Florida, him and his mother. They cut to in the story in the movie when they cut to Danny's helper coming to him and saying, look, I know that you're haunted by these things, but this is what you got to do. Here's this little case that my grandmother gave me. Smell it, see it, feel it, and I'm going to teach you how to deal with this. And they didn't go through in the book how he actually captures them. But they lead to the fact that, okay, now he can confront these demons and he can contain them. And the way they show that is when he's at home with his mother watching cartoons, he goes to the bathroom and you see the naked dead lady in the bathtub from the Overlook, and he goes in there and he shuts the door and then you hear her scream instead of him.
Yeah.
And then he comes back to his chair and he's like, yep, I took care of everything, Mom. Everything's good. That was pretty awesome to show that, now he's got some control over it. But they show when he gets older, he's still fighting off those voices in his head and that suffering. And the one thing that they show, the terrible situation where he's so much like his father, right? He's drunk out of his mind. He's high on coke. He takes this girl home. He wakes up with her in the morning. She's like passed out in the bed next to him, covered in puke. He opens his wallet and he's like, oh shit, she took my fucking money probably to buy that coke. So he goes and he takes money out of her wallet and sticks it in his wallet. And then it's a little kid with a full piss-load diaper walks out of the bedroom going, Mom? And he just picks him up and sticks him in the bed with the mom. And later they cut to him waking up in the middle of the night with that woman's ghost next to him and the baby. And that she says to him, they still haven't found us. And then you realize, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
She was dead, probably from an OD.
Overdosed, yeah.
Left the kid there with her. Now the kid is fucking dead.
Yeah.
And then that's where he's like, fuck, I gotta sober up. Like, I'm not just fucking my life up. I'm fucking other people, too. that part was pretty shocking.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that they even like, I don't know, in a lot of horror movies they don't show a lot of dead kids,
right?
But this kid with the flies in his eyeballs and he's like his half rotten face, I was like, fuck,
yeah,
shit, and he's like, mommy.
Sorry, didn't mean to laugh there.
But then, you know, Danny gets on the right track. He goes to rehab. He goes to AA. He meets some people. He starts working at a hospice, right? And at the hospice, there's people dying, of course. A hospice.
He comforts them.
Yeah, and since he can see what's going on and he has this connection to the dead and to spirits, he comforts people and helps them kind of ease into death. And he falls into a comfort zone there, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's at that point where shortly before that, right, is where Abra, they introduce you to Abra, a young lady who has The Shining also. And they introduce it in like a birthday party, and the parents witnessing it and like, oh, for shit, our kid's a fucking freak. What the hell's going on?
Yeah.
Which I imagine most parents would react that way.
Yeah, exactly.
But when they introduce her, she apparently reaches out to him, and I don't remember what was it that initiated her initial hello to him. I don't remember. I remember he was in that.
Just the chalkboard said hello. I thought, right?
Yeah, but she. How did
like?
She
I
know
think she's. I think she sensed him, like hearing her.
Oh, all right.
I think because that's what ended up happening, like with Rose the Hat and her. Like she sensed, like she was kind of peering in on.
No, but the thing is, like this was when she was young. Like this is before she saw the vision of the boy getting killed.
Right.
She was like a kid, and she said hello to him. And then they cut to 8 years later, and that's when she has the vision of the boy that gets kidnapped and gets killed.
Yeah.
And she's witnessing that happening because she senses his struggle, and she projects herself into that scene and sees what happens, and then screams in such a horrific way that it sends that psychic shock to him, where his blackboard just cracks with the words "Red Rum" when he looks in the mirror, and he turns around and says "murder." It woke him up out of bed. Remember, like he fell out of the bed after the wall kind of just cracked open, and then he writes on the blackboard "who," and then she says "baseball boy" or something.
Yeah.
And
there was a couple instances where it wasn't as smooth as, you know.
Yeah. Well, and then she like fakes going to school the next day, and she gets on a bus and finds him, and he says, "How did you find me?" And she's like, kind of like GPS, like I could sense where you're at. She goes, "It was kind of cool." But that's when he says, "Listen, if someone out there is doing this stuff,
right,
then you need to be quiet. You need to settle down because they're going to come for you. They can see you. They know you're here, and they're going to come for you. So you have to be careful. And your best bet is just to shut up and walk away and forget about it." And that's when she's like, "Well, I can't do that. They killed this boy." But at that point, that's when she goes back home. He kind of blows her off. And then that's when Rose realized that, hey, somebody saw us do this. Somebody projected here. Like at the scene where they were killing the boy, she sensed the presence of Abra, and she was like looking around. And then my favorite part of the movie, or second favorite part of the movie, is where she is in the grocery store shopping.
Oh, yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah, Rose the Hat is shopping at the grocery store, and Abra tries to discover where Rose the Hat is by projecting to her.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where Rose realizes this girl is projecting on her, and she reaches behind the back of her head looking into the refrigerator section of the grocery store, and you see her hand come out behind Abra's head and tap her on the back of the head, and that's when Abra fucking screams to get out of my head, and that girl, like the Rose the Hat, like flies across the aisle.
The store.
Yeah,
it was awesome.
Shit gets the glass gets exploded. Ice cream containers fall out of the freezer. She gets blown across the store. Her nose is bleeding. She's like, what the hell just happened?"
I've never tasted anything like that before.
Yeah, and then she's all excited, and she goes back to the rest of the True Knot and says to the crow, "Oh my God, she's like pacing back and forth. Oh my God, this girl, she's so powerful, so much energy. She blew me across the store.
Yeah.
We got to have her.
Yeah. Which was kind of creepy, like it was like, oh Jesus, that's yeah.
And then the crow's like, well, should we be turning her into us? And she goes, no way. Someone that powerful?
You gotta eat
way.
that shit.
Yeah. We're gonna fill canisters of her shining.
Yeah, because they were running low too, which is one of the points of it. Like their supply of juice or whatever they called it.
They were calling it the steam.
Yeah, was running low.
Yeah, so they were struggling, and to the
that's
point
why that old dude died.
Right, and to the point where the old dude died. And turns out the old dude was like thousands of years old. He's been around forever.
I liked how they made him sort of go away.
Disappear. Yeah, that was kind of cool.
Yeah, like how his kind of skeleton and shit was kind of
it looked like it was painful, you know what I mean?
Yeah. But they finally get to the point where they're gonna seek her out, and then she's like, no, we gotta find a way to defend herself from them. The best thing is, she tries to find where is Abra, so she tries to project to where Abra is, and Abra sets up a trap, which is freaking brilliant.
Awesome. Yeah, that was great.
And then while she's trapped, Abra gets into her head and starts digging through her brain and thoughts and memories. And she's freaking out because how the hell is this little kid able to do this shit to me? Like, I'm the most powerful of the Shining. Right. It was just phenomenal. And then especially the way she was, like, stuck to the floor. She couldn't get up. And then when she jumped, Abra just blew her out the window. She flew through the air, like, tumbling all the way back to her camp. And that's where she, like, hit her body, her astral projection hit her body so hard it just flew off the roof of the camper.
And that's why she couldn't go with him on that mission then too. Like she couldn't go because she could find her easily.
Right, and they really couldn't project any of the others. However, they didn't know that they were going to come and look for the glove because the little girl, Abra, says, hey, if we can get the glove, we find the body of the boy, the baseball boy. Mm-hmm. Someone else in the team was touching that glove. So if we can get that glove, then I can link on to him and find out where he's at. Mm-hmm. Since Rose knows about me and I know about Rose is going to block me from being able to see her. If we can get that glove, then we can get the other guy. And that's when Danny has to convince a normal sober person that, hey, I got psychic abilities, blah, blah, blah. Please trust me. Come with me across the country to Colorado to find a possibly little boy's dead body. And the funniest scene was on the way there. He's like, I don't know what's worse, like, showing up there and finding a dead body, or showing up there and finding nothing. In which case, my friend is completely crazy. I don't know which one is worse. But they do get there. They find the body. They get the glove. They take it back to Abra. Abra's able to feel the glove and know where they're at and know that they're on the way. They're already on their way to come get her. So they set up the plan to combat them. That goes kind of off wire. Another great scene in the movie was the scene of the when they have her drugged, right? After they killed all of the True Knot, all that's left is the Crow. The Crow was smart. He played a backdoor situation.
Yeah.
He went back to Abra's house, killed her father, took Abra. So Abra is drugged. He drugs her so she can't use the Shining, right?
Mm-hmm. He's driving her back.
Yeah, thinking that he's drugged her enough, and he gave her a whole lot. But he just didn't know how powerful she was, like Rose the Hat knew how powerful she was. So it wasn't enough drugs. She was able to reach out and get a hold of Danny. And Danny projected himself into her body, which was a fantastic scene.
That was crazy.
It was just amazing how he's like, oh, I feel kind of drunk. It's been a long time since I'm drunk. He's like, oh, who am I talking to now? And he's like, oh, I'm Dan Torrance. He's like, yeah, a lot of arrogance. Arrogance is really a bad thing. It makes you do dumb stuff like not wear a seatbelt.
Mm-hmm,
what are you doing? And he just takes his mental power and steers the fucking truck into a tree. And the Crow goes flying out the fucking window. It was amazing. I was like jumping up and down. Yes, get that fucker.
And then the Hat senses that, right?
Yeah, the Hat realizes, oh my God, my entire team is gone. I'm the last one here. And she projects herself to where Abra is. And is like, you little bitch. What makes you think that you can do this? That was so good. And then when Danny comes to get her and says, you know what, we're going to go to a place that's very dangerous for people like you and me.
Set up the final showdown.
Yep. We're going to go somewhere very dangerous for people like you and me. And she's like, well, why? He says, well, if it's dangerous for people like you and me, it's dangerous for her. So he's got a great idea. Now, the difference in the book and whatnot is in the book, she never went to the Overlook. She projected to it.
Okay.
And Rose did come to the Overlook. Now, the great scenes in there, I loved how there was a great documentary, it was about 30 minutes long, about the making of this movie with Mike Flanagan. And Mike Flanagan showed some back scenes. He recreated huge portions of that hotel in a set.
Oh, wow.
And it looked phenomenal. He gave a walk around of like the main foyer and everything. Just freaking awesome. Freaking awesome that they recreated the set of The Shining.
It looked a lot like the original. Like I had a hard time just saying, hey, this is, I was like, wow, this looks exactly like the original from what I can remember.
Oddly enough, in the trailer, the first trailer for Dr. Sleep, they showed the original blood coming out of the elevator scene. And the reason why they did that, according to Mike Flanagan, is they did not have their digital rendering of it done yet. So they just spliced in the Stanley Kubrick scene. Now, he said they wanted to have that scene in the book. They wanted Rose, I mean, in the book, Rose witnesses that scene. So they had to recreate that scene, but they couldn't reuse the original footage. They kind of wanted to, but they realized the original footage was shot from a camera about 5 feet off the ground, right? And at this, at the original scene, they shot it from floor level. So the original Kubrick shooting, the camera was sitting on the ground, about an inch off the ground, to film the blood scene. And in this case, because remember, that scene was from Danny's visions when he was a child in the original movie. In this one, Rose the Hat has to see it, and she's not that little. So he had to digitally recreate the scene from 5.5 feet height, so it could look like it was coming from what Rose the Hat was seeing in a vision. So they had to they rendered the entire scene, frame from frame, digital, to follow the same exact footage that Kubrick did. So the flow of the blood,
that's pretty cool.
The movement of the furniture, all that stuff was exactly from Kubrick, but recreated in a digital scene with a camera angle up at 5.5 feet. Really awesome. Like I said, Flanagan just did a great job. And they wrap it up by tying the story from the book to the hotel. In this case, the great thing that they did that Mike Flanagan had to write on his own because it did not exist in the book was the stair scene with the axe where...
Oh, that was like Wendy and Jack.
Yes, it was like reenacting the whole Wendy and Jack scene. And this time
I caught on to that. I was like, dude, this is just like Wendy and Jack.
Yep, and it's Rose the Hat with Danny. And Danny takes the axe and hits her with it, and she grabs it and bam, right into his femoral artery. Oof. Ooh. And he's on the fucking ground, about ready to die, right? And then she's like trying to suck the steam out of him, and she's like, wait a minute. There's so much in there. It tastes like old alcohol. It tastes like old whiskey. And then she's like, there's more in there. And then you see the flash of all the boxes of the people of the ghosts that he captured from the Overlook Hotel. And she's, what is in these boxes? And he just like opens every one of them. And then you see all those fucking ghosts appear and just take her down. And they're like slipping their fingers under her skin. And it was the most graphic scene ever. Just killing her right there. And then, of course, they turn on Danny because, you know, the house.
They wanted Danny.
They've always wanted Danny. And immediately possessed him as they did his father so that he could hunt down Abra. So you had those similar effects where he is limping along just like his father.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Yeah, with the axe in his hand, just like his father.
Hacks down the door.
Yep. And then that's where she talks to him and kind of gets the house out of there to realize, hey, you know, Danny did the right thing when he came in here. He was in the boiler room. And then the spirit of the hotel is like, what? Wait, what?
Yeah.
It was such a great scene. Such a great scene. And it really makes me sad that they killed him at the end. That was sad. But it was good because it redeemed him as a character, right? All the things that he did wrong in his life, the people that he let go that died, the people that he ignored, and the way he suppressed all of his problems by creating more problems for himself. In the end, he redeemed himself by eliminating the Overlook Hotel and saving Abra from Rose the Hat by more or less sacrificing himself.
And so at least he was redeemed, even though Jack didn't get redeemed.
No.
At least Danny did.
Yeah. It was a great movie, and I'll say this much. I liked it. I was so thrilled about how well done it was. I watched it twice.
I really enjoyed it a lot. Like, I didn't have any expectations going into it, and again, I didn't even know there was a book, but I liked it. I really enjoyed it. It was a bit long. Like, when I saw how long it was, I was like, Jesus, this is a long-ass movie.
Yeah.
But I watched it, and I got hooked. And
it didn't feel long.
No, it didn't.
No.
Towards the end, I was like, oh, shit, it's almost over already.
In the beginning, it was kind of slow-paced, but I think it picked up, and it went very well. I did not realize how long it was. And like I said, I watched it twice. And it really is, it is a story of exactly what you're saying, psychic vampires. They're vampires that live off psychic energy from other people. And it's funny how they mentioned a couple times in the film now the number of people that have psychic abilities are starting to diminish. And they were running low on being able to feed on what they called the steam from these people with psychic abilities. And I got to imagine, especially after reading the book, the number of people in this True Knot cult.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they probably eliminated the possibility of psychic babies because they were finding all of them to kill them.
Junkies.
Yeah, junkies, exactly. Addicted to living forever as psychic vampires. But I'll tell you, great movie. Well done. Even the scenes that they had to refilm with new actors and actresses to kind of cut into what happened in room 237, what happened at the hotel, what happened after the hotel. The girl that played Wendy, not that bad. It was a pretty good cut.
No, I didn't think so.
Even the kid that played little Danny, probably a little more expressive than the original Danny. But yeah, it was very good. It was very good. The way they overlapped the novels, closed up the novel of The Shining and closed up the movie of The Shining. Like I said, I really think that Mike Flanagan did a great job, and I'm looking forward to his next horror venture because I'm a big fan now. So, in terms of rating this movie, my personal view, 4 out of 5 stars.
That's what I would give it too. I would give it a 4.
I'm gonna go 3.5.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
We'll go 4. That's a 4.
What do you think were the shortcomings? You guys feel there were any shortcomings in the story, in the movie?
Again, I thought it lacked the horror. I mean, there was some. I mean, the lady in the shower. She was always scary when I was a kid from the original movie.
Yeah.
But it was more like I think Rose the Hat helped it pull away from horror because, like I said, she was good looking and it just lacked some horror elements for me.
I'm gonna say
nothing really scary about the movie. That's why I sort of dropped it down to a 3.5. The story was awesome. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
And I mean, it was a really good story. I loved how it explained. When I was a kid watching the first movie, I couldn't wrap my head around it, and it sort of explained, that's why he, in the kitchen in Florida, he drops everything he's doing and he goes up because Danny's talking to him. Like, you didn't know that. Yeah. I didn't. And they just explained everything in depth, and I loved how they did that.
Yeah.
So I'm like, it makes total sense now. You know.
Yeah. And the one thing I will say is, it did lack a lot of the horror. Like in the book, it's very full of horror, but the one scene that really got me was killing that kid, that baseball kid. I mean, that was over the top, dude. That scene was over the top. Like, he was screaming, "Please don't kill me. Let me go. Let me go."
Yeah.
And they were killing him, man. It was fucking bad. And you think of it this way, like when she said, what did Rose the Hat say? Something like, the pain and the fear make the steam taste better.
Yeah, it tastes better.
Yeah.
I was like, fuck, man. And that's why they torture people as they kill them, because they're trying to maximize the flavorfulness of the steam. It's fucked up.
Yeah.
Oh, that part was horrific.
Yeah, I got more of like it was like a psychological horror.
Yeah.
You know, there was some little bit of blood and guts ish, you know, but for me it was like a psychological horror and creepy. And that's why I didn't think it lacked horror elements quite so much. But
you know, the other thing that really got me is when they're digging up the boy, right? The story that the buddy says.
Yeah.
And that really touches a nerve because everybody can identify that smell of roadkill, the smell of the carcass. And it really, when I remember reading the book and just thinking, oh my God, I'm going to fucking puke. Because here they are digging up a dead kid and they're describing a dead deer. And I know the smell and it's like, oh, fuck.
It's terrible. Yeah. Terrible. Rotting flesh is a horrible smell.
Horrible smell. And just the way that they describe it in the book. And they did a great job in the screenplay. Like his description of, and the way they draw out the story, like I'm hunting down this deer, I know I nicked it, and then 3 days later I find it leaning up against the tree stand, dead. I'm like, oh, jeez.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Awesome.
Okay, so yeah, we'll give it a solid 4.
All right. 4 stars it is. All right. Awesome. 4 out of 5 stars. So my thing is, if you didn't see it, you should see it. Hopefully you saw it since we've been talking about it. And if you have seen it, tell us what you think about it. You can send us an email, go on Facebook, hit us up on our website. Tell us what you thought of it. Then that's it for this episode. We will be back next month. We'll probably record in 3 weeks because, things.
Yeah, things.
All right. Thank you, and we'll see you next time.